What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show Recap with Mo. Well, we're getting ready to get into a new show on this platform titled Kingdom Business, all right? But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit and it that's going on. So the episode we're getting ready to look at is Season 2, Episode number 1, titled Stay. Now, the synopsis for this episode states that the family deals with the fallout of Calvin's shocking actions. Denita's parents seize power as she hovers between life and death. Rbel, feeling lost, returns to her former career. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, so right off the bat, we see Sister Denita Jordan standing at the altar of the grave. So she's at the grave site, but I couldn't help but to notice that no one else was there with her. And then all of a sudden we saw these pallbearers. They were carrying the casket, and I was like, okay, well, who's in it? But she's there by herself. So I was like, okay, what's good? So as the casket is being lowered into the ground, she looks towards the tombstone to find her name on it. And I was like, damn. No wonder wasn't nobody there. And, excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry, sister. So next we see Sister Jordan being rushed to the hospital. Now, if you recall in the previous season, she was shot in the church by the good pastor himself, her husband, but was it on purpose? No, I don't think it was on purpose. Well, we don't really know. I guess the devil made me do it. But anyhow, real talk, sticking to the script. He honestly did not intend to shoot her. He honestly was dealing with his own demons. So, honestly, he was trying to harm himself. Fortunately, Sister Johnson got in the way of that, and she ended up, receiving the bullet herself. So anyhow, when we get to the hospital, we see CJ is standing by her side as she's being rolled in, and Calvin is trying to calm her. But she's not able to receive him right now because she's pissed off. Like, the reason why we're going through this right now is because your ass decided to bring a gun into the church house. Excuse me, Lord. But I'm just saying, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're the reason why we're here. So no, I'm quite sure you're hurting right now, but Dad, I'm not there yet. All right? I know you're dealing with it, but I'm dealing with it. Allow me to deal with it. And I'm with her with that. So anyhow, while she's going back and forth with him on that, in walks Taj. Now, Taj is like, what happened? Like, tell me what went down. CJ is like, look, Denita had just finished singing, and Calvin got up speaking about the whole Danny, situation and, how he's dealing with it. And now she's with the ancestors and he really want to go there as well. So he placed the boom, boom, pow, pow towards his head. And Taj is like, okay, so you brought a gun into the church? And I'm like, right. And we're all looking at Calvin the same way. Like, you, we're talking to you. You decided to bring one into the church house on this day. And now you got Sister Jordan sitting up here on the stretcher. We don't know if she's going to live, but you know what I'm saying? See, this is on you. See, the devil made you do it. But anyhow, while everyone is pissed off, they leaving, we see Chief Ray off to the side. He tells Calvin to come outside and meet him because he wants to speak to him in private, right? And he was like, look, this is the day that I should have had my tail at church, but I missed it. And see what went down? See, I should have been there. You're right, you should have been there. But anyhow, moving on from there, he was like, look, why couldn't you just keep your daggone mouth shut? And he did not use those words, to be exact. And then he's like, look, everything was handled. So I was like, okay, Calvin, if everything was handled, why in the hell did you decide to do what you did in the pulpit? I'm just trying to understand that, but we're going to leave that there. I guess we'll find that out later. And then Calvin gives him this sob story talking about, I told one person that Danny was blackmailing me, and she told his father-in-law, Bishop Jeremiah, and that's a whole different beast to deal with. Now, we're not talking about the beast that we mentioned off in Revelation, all right? I'll just say this is a whole different beast, right? So anyhow, Chief Ray is like, okay, I'm just giving you the heads up right now that one of my detectives may ask some questions. might as well get your mind right about it. And I'm just giving you a heads up and letting you know that I'm not the enemy. I just want you to know that, right? So anyhow, going on from there, back at the hospital, we see Taj getting off the elevator with CJ when he receives a call from Caesar, right? Next, we head back outside to see Detective Parker approaching the chief. Now, the chief, you already know, we just talked about him, just finished talking to Calvin himself. So he was like, what you doing up here? She was like, oh yeah, I'm coming up here to interview Calvin and the family. He was like, well, this probably isn't the best time right now. And she was like, look, okay, like, when am I supposed to do it? He was like, look, we just need to wait for all the questions, all right? That's pretty much what it is. You can do it at a later time. So anyhow, going on from there, back in the waiting room, we see the family is getting an update on Denita's overall status for the moment. And Taj receives another text from Rbel asking, is there anything that she can do? Because obviously the news has gotten back to her. He tells them that he has to go to the cafeteria. So this man is sitting down here, with his girl next to him, but now he got to go off to the cafeteria to have a sideline conversation, you know what I'm saying, in the church. Anyhow, but in defense of my brother Taj, I truly understand it, my brother. I would definitely be sending her a text as well. Like, let's be honest, she is fine. She is that. Let me leave it at that. So anyhow, moving on, Rbel is waiting on his phone call. Of course, when he gets to the cafeteria, of course, he goes ahead and gives her a call. She receives a call from Taj trying to get the 411 on what's going on. Taj asked her to pray for the family, which she does. And then from there, we head over to the studio where we see Jewel attempting to show Caesar that she knows her way around the studio, how the band should sound, all this stuff, woo, woo, woo. And in walks Rbel. Now, Caesar's like, I'm glad to see you were able to make it or whatnot. Glad you were able to come through. She's like, look, I was summoned. I'm here. And let's keep it short and sweet. Look, Rbel wants out of the contract because this life isn't for her. She for the streets. Like, I'm out here trying to live this life right here, and you trying to tell me to be patient. Like, patience is a virtue and all of this stuff, and I understand that in the scripture, but at the same time, it ain't getting my pockets fat, and I got bills to pay, Caesar. And what you were telling me from the get-go is that I was going to be good, and at first, let's be honest, it was pretty cool. Now, at this point, when she has bills to pay, nothing is falling through like it should have or as it was promised. Now she's like, look, I want out. He's like, no, I can't afford to allow you to do that. And in walks Tasha Cobb Leonard. Now, they were getting in a heated debate, but all of a sudden, when Sister Tasha walked in, and all of a sudden, everybody want to be nice. Break every chain. We're going to break every chain in this place. So anyhow, back at the hospital, the family finds out that Denita's in a coma or a coma type state. So, and that was some of the bad news that the family had heard. And then we head back over to the studio where we see Rbel and Tasha talking about forgiveness. Now, Tasha conveys to Rbel that she had some issues, when she first got into the music industry, and she had, quite a few pushbacks herself for one of the songs that she did with Nicki Minaj. And I do recall a song that she did with Nicki Minaj, but, I'm not truly a Tasha, what's her name? Tasha Cobb. Dang, y'all gonna get on me for that. I'm not truly a Tasha Cobb fan. I mean, I like some of her songs. Like, I know the song Break Every Chain, and then I think there's another song that my wife and my kids love, and it got on my nerves a little bit. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. Like, that's what we do on this platform. We tell the facts. But outside of that, I think she has a beautiful voice, and I think the track that they were doing on this episode was dope. But like I stated, each his own. And then she tells her story about, when she came out with the song. And I think this was for real, because the way she was talking about it, because I did read a lot of the reviews and people pushing back on the content that she had placed on her album. And some people did have issue with the Nicki Minaj joint. So I mean, and I'm not truly a Nicki Minaj fan either. So it truly is what it is for me. Just make great music for everybody, right? So moving on from there, we head back to the hospital. Now, when we head back to the hospital, we see Rebel getting asked by Detective Parker about, the situation. Of course, they go out to eat or something like that. I can't really remember. I think she decides to take her out to eat. Rebel is like, okay, it better be someplace good. But before Rebel gets to the hospital, I think over at the studio, Tasha and Rebel record together. Yeah, they record together and do something else together where they're working on the album. Now, this is the thing for me, because Caesar is sitting up here trying to convince Rebel to stay put, don't leave the label, but at the same time, he's doing some messed up crap right here, because Jewel has to remind him as well, like, hey, is this for her album? He says, actually, this is not. This is actually for Tasha's situation, and, she's just grateful. He's just grateful that she's able to allow, Rebel to get on the track. Well, at the same time, Jewel is like, okay, well, don't hesitate too daggone long, because eventually, old girl is going to start to reject and push back, because she doesn't see anything coming from the work that she's putting into it, which is very true, right? So from there, we head back over to the hospital, where we see three of my favorite people. We see the good Bishop Jeremiah. Remember that beast I told you about? And we see Sister Darlene, and of course we see Fine Ass Sasha, right? So Sasha comes in pushing Jeremiah. CJ is not happy to see her. Like, why is she here? So Sasha comes up to embrace Brother Calvin in a seductive manner, because she's there for him. Whatever this brother needs, she is there for him. She's there to lay hands. Oh, man, let me get off of this before I get in trouble, man. So Sasha just wants him to know that she's there for him. And the next thing we see is Sasha singing outside Sweet Chariot. So she went from laying hands on Calvin to outside singing Sweet Chariot. And she did her thing, right? And of course, Caesar saw it and all. It was good. Now, I don't know how she got outside from the hospital and started singing out there, getting quarters and things thrown in her head or something. I don't know how she ended up out there, and then with the choir behind her. I don't know how that went down. But anyhow, they had a family meeting. Now, this is when it started to get a little crazy right here. They had a whole family meeting in the hospital. And in walks Taj and his girl Essence. Now, when Essence gets ready to sit down, the good Bishop is like, look, this is family business. Or was it? It was either one of the two. I think it was Darlene. She was like, oh, no, this is family business. And Essence is like, well, I'm practically family. And the good Bishop is like, well, we're talking about immediate family. Right now, you don't fit that bill. And she was like, damn, like, for real? So she looks at Taj. Taj is like, well, we'll get ready to leave. They were like, no, you stay put. And he goes ahead and stays put. He tells her to just go outside. He won't be that long, right? So anyhow, Darlene and the Bishop have decided to take over all the family business. And Brother Calvin is like, well, I'll do my part and I'll give a statement. And the good Bishop is like, hell to the no, to the no. You would do no such thing, my brother. We don't need you. You've done enough. That's what he's pretty much telling. You've done enough. All right. So they feel as if he should go on a sabbatical immediately, like without hesitation. All right. We don't need no writing. We don't need you to write no letter for the congregation. We just need you to go. We need you to exit, like the Exodus. All right. And then Taj, you shall run First Kingdom Records. And he was like, yeah, that's where the money is, where the money resides. You see what I'm saying? And he was like, no, you do recall that she kicked me out. She fired me. And they was like, don't worry about that. We run that. All right? So anyhow, now that everyone has left the room, Calvin comes over to his father-in-law to ask if he had, any information about what happened to her. And who I'm talking about is Danny, right? The one that's with the ancestors. And, the good bishop is like, I have no idea on what you're talking about right now. Like, he playing it smooth, bro. He playing it smooth. Like, you ain't getting nothing out of the good bishop Jeremiah, right? So, Calvin has to make it clear. I'm talking about Danny Williams, the girl. Did you arrange for her to be, silenced? And the good bishop is like, look, I just told you I don't know what you're talking about. So Calvin is like, look, I know that Sasha conveyed to you that I was being blackmailed. Once again, the good bishop is like, didn't I just tell you? I don't know. All right? So the bishop is like, look, let me tell you something. The kingdom is a lot bigger than you and your mess-ups. And I was like, damn, did he just read you, bro? If that's a read, let me know if that's a read down below. I'm just learning. Listen, man, I only use that terminology. My wife said something to me, and I was like, what the heck is she talking about? But I think that was a read. Anyhow, next we see Rbel back at the club, seeking to be reemployed. All right, so when you don't get it right the first time, go ahead and dust yourself off and try again. And that's essentially what she's doing at this point, because she has, in her mind, she has nowhere else to go but to back where she came from, all right? Which is to shake that thing, all right? And, Dex is like, so what happened to your, your whole big gospel career, whatnot? And she's like, look, Dex, I don't need no problems. I just need you to just allow me to work part-time. I was a money maker. I brought him out. And it was like, you definitely used to do that. So I'm quite sure, just listening to the response that he's giving her and what she's giving him right now, he's definitely going to place her back on the script. And that's with no ands, ifs, or buts, and emphasis on the buts, all right? Definitely for this context. So going on from there, y'all gonna kill me, man. Back over at the hospital, we see CJ at her mother's bedside apologizing and telling her that she's still needed in the world, right? And while all of this was going down, Sasha is standing by, listening to everything. She decides to go over to Denita's bedside as well. But instead of words of encouragement, she's there to inform her that she needs to go ahead and let it go. Go ahead and walk into the light, Caroline. Don't avoid it. Go on and walk into it. Rest assured that she's going to take good care of Calvin. See how I put that preacher on it? Good care of So when she says that, damn it, the whole system went out. Lights started flashing everywhere. The nurse that, just gave her the information, what she needed, everything. He was like, look, you're going to have to go. We need to get her back together because obviously she heard something she didn't need to hear. So next we see Caesar in his office watching Denita singing on his computer screen when in walks his attorney with some documents to proceed with his case, right? But even though he wants to win the case, he totally feels some type of way about this whole thing going down right now due to all of the stuff that's going on with Denita being in the hospital. Whoa. The attorney is like, look, this is the best time to go after it. And actually, as she's, in the hospital, her music is climbing up the charts, so it's going to bring better value, and the value is going to go up. And he was like, look, man, I'm feeling some type of way. She was like, the hell with that. We about to get this money. We about to get this paper, right? So back at the hospital, we see Taj at his mom's bedside praying and crying. Meanwhile, Darlene and the good bishop are already planning her funeral. I could not make this up. So they sitting out there in the waiting room. They got the obituary. Yeah, we're gonna put this here. We're gonna do this here. And in walks Calvin. Now, Calvin is like, hold on, wait a minute. I know y'all not planning her funeral right now. And they was like, yeah, this is the best time to do it, while we're not as emotional. And I was like, hell nah. So anyhow, while they're still going back and forth with Calvin, they notice Caesar standing at the window. And Caesar informs Calvin that his attorney is filing a lawsuit against Denita and the record label. And Calvin is like, oh man, not right now. Like, this is not what we need right now. And Caesar conveys to him, like, look, I'm not going to do it right now, in appreciation of the family and as well as what's going on. I'm not really going to go into it right now, but I'm just giving you a heads up. Calvin seems appreciative of that, and of course he leaves. Over at the chapel, we see Todd singing and playing on the piano, and I think Rbel walks in. And when she walks in, she comes over and she asks him, where's his girl? And of course, it is what it is. We know what it is between them. And he starts to sing, and of course she jumps in and sings along with him. So while they're singing and getting close together, we see Essence standing in the doorway. But she never decides to come into the room, which I thought was odd. I was like, well, I guess she had enough of the la-la-las and the ooh-oohs, all right? So anyhow, while the piano is still playing in the background, we head back over to Denita's hospital room or whatnot, and we see her laying up on the cot, and we see this guy that was actually in the chapel when Calvin and CJ were in the chapel, and he came over and prayed for Calvin. And I was like, who in the hell is he? So when we get over to Denita's room, we see this same gentleman walking inside of the room. He's down on one knee, looking to be praying for Denita. And then he gets up, he places his left hand on her abdomen and his right hand on her forehead. And then all of a sudden, it was like Denita woke up, grabbed his wrist very firmly, and she was like, who are you? And I was like, yeah, who are you? And he says, I'm your son. I was like, what the hell? Like, what are we doing, man? I said, oh, I'm so intrigued. But that's pretty much it, man. That's the end of the episode. I hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed giving it to you. Also, thank you guys for your support. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so y'all don't miss shit. So let this going down right here. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace. 600 subscribers plus, and I look forward to seeing if I can get to that other landmark. So talk to y'all soon, man.